Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Safe Room. I am your host, Sean Williams, and today I'm solo. I'm riding solo. I'm riding solo. I'm riding solo. Yes, today I'm riding solo. Hey, look, don't play with me. Listen, I got that voice. Look, first off, go check out my official song for the podcast, First Lady. It's on all available platforms. But I had to get that out the way because today I have no guests. Today we're rocking solo. Today we have just me, myself, and I. And today we have a very interesting topic to go over. So I'm very excited to talk about this. It's something that I would say is under the radar, but at the same time, I wouldn't say that as well because, it has been brought up in news, in different outlets, social media, but not to a full extent. And if you guys get what I'm talking about, I am speaking on the minimum wage proposal from Andrea Horwath, just raising it up to $20. Yeah, so that's interesting because I have a couple things to say about that, good and bad. Mostly, I think you kind of know what direction I'm kind of treading into, but we're gonna talk about it. Before we do, make sure you guys follow me on Instagram at the Safe Room Podcast. Go check out my website. Something I haven't talked about that much when it comes to promotion, and that's because I've been really busy with classes and haven't had the chance, to make any updates. But I have made some updates recently. I have been doing different things in terms of give episode summaries of all the stuff I've done for the podcast. So make sure you guys check it out. It's in my bio for my Instagram, or you can just type in thesaferoompodcast.com and go check out your boy. I give updates on new episodes, anything else. More things are coming on the way. I will let you guys know about that. And again, like I mentioned, go check out my song, the official song soundtrack for the podcast, First Lady by your boy Sean Williams, the president. Okay. Available on all streaming platforms. So please go do that. But without further ado, let's get into it. Now, I'm recording this in the afternoon, guys. It's been very busy for me. Not for terms of work or anything, but just more family stuff, We're just getting ready for Christmas Day, what we're going to do. It's supposed to be something that, we're planning something special. And obviously to all the people who have family out there that are planning for the holidays, I hope your holidays go well. I hope everything goes fine. God knows with this pandemic, now we're as I'm recording this, it's basically close to 6,000 cases a day. What? What happened? 2 weeks ago, we were at 1,000, heck, under that. Now we're at 6K, basically. I don't know what happened. That may be something I talk about in the future in terms of conspiracies, because something ain't right. Something's not right. I understand that this Omicron, whatever you want to call it, is going around, but something is definitely something's not right. It's either this Omicron thing is so deadly that it makes the cases multiply at a rapid pace, or there's something that they're not telling us, or something's going wrong and they're trying to keep it on the wrap. Let's not forget, this is the government, okay? So don't put anything past them. But we're not here to talk about COVID. We're here to talk about the minimum wage proposal from Andrea Horwath. So if you guys don't know, I'm just going to give a little bit of context. I'm just going to talk about what the raise for the minimum wage could possibly do, and just, provide my main argument. What do I think about this? What's my biggest takeaway? I'm going to try to go on both perspectives, both spectrums, because as much as personally I feel like this is something that shouldn't be gone through in terms of implementation, I could see why, you want to increase the minimum wage to $20, or at least gradually increase it. I get that, it does give proper compensation to workers who, sometimes have that issue where they're not getting paid enough, or their services are not being, equated to their hours. So I get that, but we'll see how that works. And hopefully I give you guys an informed talk. We're just here to talk about it again. I was thinking about doing something like, do I create like a model if you want to implement it? But I thought, let's keep it small until like things actually start to be more put into action. We hear more news about it. Then fine. I wanted to talk about universal basic income, but I thought, you know what? I really don't want to. In a sense, maybe that's something for another conversation. But yeah. So to give some context, leader of the official opposition, um, Andrea Horwath, is proposing to raise the minimum wage to $20. And basically, it's not immediate. This is not something that's going to come into effect off the jump. No, it's basically her plan is to increase the minimum wage by $1, and by May 1st, 2026, which is, well, I can basically say 4 years. I know we're still in 2021, but 2022 is around the corner. So you know what I mean. Around that time, it should be $20. And basically, her reason, or what she's kind of basing off her main statement, is that Doug Ford is not really helping out the workers with equitable pay and compensation. And, she really wants to address that. She feels that whether it's small businesses or individuals who find employment in low skilled or high skilled occupations, they're not being rightfully paid what they deserve in terms of their hours, their labor, and all they put. So, this is something that she wants to do. She wants to increase the minimum wage so that way there's more equality in terms of compensations for male, female, whatever gender you may display yourself. And also during the transition, because obviously I had questions of like, okay, so if you're going to implement it, like what's going to happen to like some of the parties that are already involved, like businesses, people who may want to obtain employment, what happens to them? The plan is during the transition, Horvath's plan will offer funds to local businesses. So, as you know, the original scheme of the minimum wage is being increased. There will be funds offered to local businesses. And I mean, fair enough. But like now I ask the question, like, okay, so how much are we offering? Because again, like there's a lot of local businesses that already have like a tough time, or there's always a tedious process of having to accumulate funds already. And if they have to now deal with the fact that, okay, the minimum wage is increasing, like we have to change our whole strategy of how we think because now budget comes into play, but you're still offering these funds, like how much do we get? Like if you're going to change it, are we going to get more than other businesses? Is it going to be like a fixed amount? Like that has to matter. And like that's one thing that when it comes to the government, they're never clear about. They're never clear about a certain promise or intention for anything. That's why when it comes to like politics, it's just like it's not that I don't take it seriously, but like I just know that when they say things, it's never into further detail where the individual, myself or anyone else, can really understand and be like, okay, I see how this could be implemented, what needs to happen, what are the next steps. It's the most bland, most generic thing. Common example, or we're gonna bring down carbon emissions by 2050. Okay, but like how though? How are you gonna bring it down? Like you just said we're bringing it down, but how though? Oh, don't worry, we're gonna bring it down. No, but like, are you gonna collaborate with businesses? You're gonna develop a strategy? Is there a certain amount you want to go for? Oh, don't worry, we're bringing it down by like by 10%. Okay, but like how? What's the plan? Like every year you want to do it by this percent, this percent. Is there certain implications? Like they can go into detail, but I digress. So basically, that is the plan. Or I wouldn't even say it's a plan. I guess it's a thought. Because we really haven't seen any, reports saying that it's in action. And maybe I'm wrong. Like this has been talked about like 2-3 weeks ago. I'm not saying it's kind of died down, but it's still like under the rug, but it's like still there on the surface. But I have my thoughts. I have my thoughts, and I have my complaints, obviously. But let's focus on what this would do. Let's look at the positives before, honestly, I get to my real personal take. So something that Horvath mentioned, it'll bring equitable pay to workers. And yeah, like don't get me wrong. Someone who's currently working two jobs, like I know how important it is for you as the employee that you get paid, because obviously this is something that you apply for in terms of a job position. And if you are doing your role and your responsibilities well, you should have a reward with compensation being paid. That's basically the incentive that you receive. And if you have to deal with the issues that you may not get paid equitably, and you're getting underpaid, or your check doesn't come in at the time, or like they have to delay a process, it gets very annoying. So I get it. You want to make sure that people are being paid well, so that way their incomes are coming back into their bank accounts or whatever. I will say that if you do increase the minimum wage, that just means more tax. And like I'm already a dude that's like, listen, like for the minimum wage at $15, like I don't work for $15. I work for higher than that, and the tax alone is heavy. Like don't forget, like there are some individuals that may not be working minimum wage, and sometimes minimum wage kind of consists of a small, I would say small, a specific population. And I don't want to generalize and say it is only, but it's mostly like you're 16 to 18, 19, around that age. Once you hit like your 20s, you're not really looking for employment that's minimum wage. And I think that's just our mindset of like, listen, we're trying to like make more money because we might have more responsibilities, where it's paying bills, cars and debts for that. Maybe if you're in your mid 20s, you already buy a house. There's mortgage. So it's like, I can't be working minimum wage. I need like a job that's going to pay me like very substantially well. So fair point. So yes, even though it brings equitable pay, there is the issues with tax, but I think that's something you're not going to avoid. Like, what's the three things? Debt, taxes, and well, the third thing's basically messed up. Okay, okay, I'm getting a little off topic, but guys, that's what I do. That's what I do. If you don't expect me to get off topic, then why are you here then? So that's one thing that raising the minimum wage could do. Another thing, it will create a shift in the economy. So I do believe that, if you increase the minimum wage, it's going to change different sectors in terms of like how concentration works. Now, being a business major and everything, obviously there are certain markets that are dominated by different corporations, monopolies, and sectors that thrive more than others. I mean, one example, the agricultural sector, it used to be a very dominant, place for people to establish, some entry. The entry level wasn't like too restrictive, that anyone could come in there and were able to like profit, turn any, products or goods into commodities, stuff like that. Just this is just like basic business talk. But now obviously things have switched for the more technical, the more like social media. Basically that aspect has kind of changed, and it's kind of gone for this field. And like agricultural, not to say that it's completely vanished, but it is depleting quicker and quicker. Sometimes you go in your stores and like you see things that are like, wait a minute, like this wasn't like the price last week or last month. I don't remember it being so high. And again, because like there's issues with that. And sometimes you might see tendencies of like, different business models that you do see again, like in technological fields, automotive fields, trying to be implemented into the agricultural land, which is again a common thing. People don't want to do farming anymore. They want to do more factory manufacturing work, mechanized technologies for that. I mean, that is the time we are living in. So again, it could create a shift where it could like either thrive or it could plunder with an installment of a higher wage. Because I mean, it could thrive in the sense that, well, if you open more employment and there's different people who may not be able to, do the work, or they do the work, but they're still being exploited because they're not getting paid properly. If you increase the wage for more, again, like I would say low skill occupation, because I don't think you would see a high skilled job pay like $20. And I think that's really important in terms of this conversation, that when we're talking raise the minimum wage to 20, it's like, I don't think that applies to everyone. And it may not even apply to like every specific, job, position, or even realm in terms of low skilled occupation. Maybe you'll kind of go for a specific field, but then other jobs still pay $15. Because that is very plausible. You can't expect every single job that offers minimum wage right now to just go up to 20. Because if we do, then they would tell us. They would honestly tell us. But because they're just kind of giving you the smallest bit, I don't think that's true. So it could, again, the economy could thrive, as in like it opens more avenues for other sectors who feel like, they're not getting enough profit because again, with the higher wages, you know, it's beneficial, even though from a business standpoint, when you have lower wages, the profit goes higher. So if you're gonna have higher wages, you need to make sure that you're generating revenue without having high expenses, so that way it cancels out and you're still able to make profit. And it will be difficult if you have a higher wage, but who am I to judge? I mean, again, this is just, I'm looking in terms of like what will happen, whether it's good or bad. What will happen if you raise the minimum wage? And I think this is a very common one: increased employment. Again, if you raise it every single year, and if you do get to that targeted goal of $20 by 2026, I'm pretty sure anyone who turns the age of 16 will automatically try to go for a job. They will find something. And again, like you can find it for a student in the easiest places. Sometimes in school boards, they offer, summer job positions, camp counselors or whatever. So I know there's some people who work as like caregivers and everything. So yeah, from there, I mean, that's cool. That's cool. It works. But with increased employment, there could also be a stagnation. Because again, like there's jobs out there, but not everyone can obtain a job. Obviously, there's limits in certain businesses, like we can't overcapacitate, our staff. We can't have so much people on our payroll because then it's like, where do we find the funds? Again, how does that work with the budget? Like that is one thing I always say. Like people are saying like increase the minimum wage because you need to increase more employment, which yes, people need more jobs, but at the same time, it's like what happens when you hire all these people? Where are you getting the money from to pay them? And also, taking this consideration, what happens to the existing workers that are already there for said business or said organization? And they see all this employment, they see all these people coming in, and it's just like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. I've been here for months. Heck, some people can say I've been here for years. And you mean to tell me that now, like, I might get cut off of my pay because more people are coming in? Like, that could be an issue. That could be an issue. And I know I would be feeling some way. I'm not just gonna be like in always like in welcoming arms saying, oh great, there's more people. This is what we need. We need more employment. I'm gonna be like, yo, like, does this affect my bag? Cause like, listen, I need my bread. Like I need to bank out. Okay. So what's going on? So like that needs to be taken into consideration. It can increase employment, but also can cause stagnation. There could be a moment where like nothing is happening, like there's no new jobs, and it's like the only way you may get a new job is if someone gets fired or someone quits, or maybe like a business shuts down or new business are created. And again, like in the economy with businesses, some businesses may not be able to succeed because the barriers to entry are they're so visual, like so vivid, like you can see that there are so many different avenues that, people can't get into because, you don't have enough market power. You don't have a structure that can go against them. That's why, most businesses establish more of a stockholder approach where you make profits in the interest of shareholders, even though like that can be argued because like not every shareholder kind of has the mentality of like let's make profits and everything. But like again, it's basically like their fiduciary duty to do so in terms of like executive. That's their duty towards shareholders. And if someone is coming into the market, if you're a business that's coming in and you have a whole different model that does not fit what the market personifies it to be, then you may not be able to get through. So it's like, unless there's more businesses that will be established and they're able to gain entry into a market and at least build up some, reputation, they can build profit, so that way more people can apply for those, positions, for those new established businesses, then there will be a point where yes, employment comes up, but then it's gonna be at this straight line. And who knows? It may even go down where like people are just like, you know what, like this there's no point. Because like all the spots are filled. So like I don't know what to do. So like then what happens? Do people start, become self-employed? And if you're self-employed, how does that work? Because again, if you're self-employed, there may be a moment that you're doing all this stuff for free. And I know that's gonna get people mad. I know you're not gonna be doing your stuff, you're gonna be wanna get paid for free. Like look at me. Honestly, as a podcaster, I feel like I should be getting paid for this. Like there should be like a site where you can like all podcasters can sign up and then like through there, or at least some collaboration where we can get paid. Like something with YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, like come on. But obviously that's a whole thing. Maybe I'll talk about that. That might be another topic I think about, But that's something that needs to be considered in terms of, how would it affect raising the minimum wage, increase employment, but also the notion of stagnation, sorry. So, what do I think? Well, personally, I understand. Now listen, I'm not a cold-blooded person. I'm not. I understand why people would want the minimum wage to increase. There's some people that don't get paid properly. And I don't even want to get into my story because then like I feel like I will be exploited and exposing so many things. So I'm just gonna keep that to the side. But sometimes there are people who, especially I'm gonna speak from marginalized communities as well. When we work, whether it's a summer job or even like a job that is still good in terms of like what the purpose is, it may pay little. And if you are working, which I think most people are, on a bi-weekly schedule where people receive obviously their funds every 2 weeks, that can diminish very quickly, especially if you're living in areas like Jane and Finch, Regent Park, Rexdale, Kiel, you name it, Scarborough, Mississauga, like anywhere. It can diminish because again, we come from low income neighborhoods where we don't have a lot of resources and opportunities. And when we have things in our areas, the costs for it are so high and has such a huge impact that, you're asking yourself, is it worth it? We talk about groceries, sometimes our groceries like run up to like 200 on a good day, on a good week. When like you're not trying to spend that much, and like even when you're not trying to spend that much, somehow you're close to like hitting 100 for buying like a couple of snacks and drinks and maybe something to eat for later, because everything has just been spiking up so much. And also take it for like all the young adults who are driving. I mean, the gas price at a point were horrendous. It's like what, $1.50? $1.50. It was bad. So imagine if you're working minimum wage and then let's say you have to drive to your job and you have to like fill up gas every single time. Now you're paying $1.50 and obviously there's certain gallons that you have to go for. Maybe you have a specific vehicle that has to run on this type of gas, or it's just like it's gonna run out quicker. There's so much variables. And because there's different areas, but specifically areas that have like low income in terms of, again, the financial resources or financial, aspect is not that present. It's gonna be an issue. So I get why people would want, to raise it. Like think about it. Like for the longest while, like I used to like rock the same clothing like almost every single day to school because I didn't have enough money to like go buy something. Like if I wanted to buy like a clean pair of shoes, like some J's, some ones, some Nikes, some Adidas. Like, if I were to like get a paycheck, like back in the day, it was like maybe like 200 and something like that. And probably even less than that. Like that wouldn't even be enough for a new pair of shoes. That wouldn't be enough. Or let's say, if you're having to support your family, so like you have to buy groceries as well, half of your check cuts into that. So it's like, what do you have left? It's like we have to work double jobs. And that's why you see a lot of like, black people specifically, or even like other, racialized minorities. They might be working double jobs because it's like literally one job is not enough. It doesn't cover. Like, unless there are more jobs in the community where it's like they're paying 35, $40 an hour, then like we're set. Like, this is not Silicon Valley where you can work at Microsoft or Apple or anything. Like, we don't have those stuff here. Because again, like they don't give us to us. Rather, they want to build all these condos, all these fancy LRTs, throw all these different, stores and everything. They want to gentrify the place, but they never thought like, oh, these people don't have the money, so like, why are we doing this? But you still continue. So honestly, raising the minimum wage, I could honestly see some people be like, no, like we need it, we do. But, and here comes the main argument for me. I don't think they should do it. Actually, I don't think they should not do it. Period. Because I'll explain why by the end, but I have like 4 counter arguments. And again, this conversation, it's not about arguing about, oh, you're wrong, this and that. Listen, you have your own take. I just want to like break it down from my view of why I just don't think it's gonna work. It's just not gonna work. Number 1, this belief for equality in pay. Now look, everyone thinks when you establish minimum wage, raising up to $20, or at least every dollar each year, it's like, oh, there's more equality in pay. When the reality is, there really isn't. Because again, you're only increasing the minimum wage. And again, like, did it even mention which ones are going to be like affected in terms of like, are we just talking like city jobs? Are we talking about jobs in the school board? Are we looking for more like mentorship program job? Like, it doesn't really specify what type of jobs that offer minimum wage are going to be affected. And even though you could say, well, it's all jobs though that offer minimum wage, you don't know that. I guarantee you there's probably so much jobs that are out there that no one even knows about that offers minimum wage. And the government probably doesn't know that too. Maybe they're not tracking them. So actually, that's a lie. That's the government tracks everything. But they may not be looking at them as like, you know what, it's cool. Like, we don't need to like raise up or boost up the minimum wage. And like, besides, like, think about this too. I had this conversation with my sister a couple weeks back. Imagine if you're I'm gonna throw an example. Imagine if you're a teacher, right? And like, let's say you're working, you're doing your job, and then you have like students who apply for summer jobs and stuff. They're working as a camp counselor, right? For $20 an hour. And let's say a teacher, and again, I'm not saying this is the price. It's probably higher than that, but like 25, just for example, right? But you understand what I'm like. I hope you're trying to get what I'm saying, right? So a teacher, $25 an hour, right? Teachers make how much? They make close to like 100K plus a year. If you give students who are working as camp counselors for what, 8 weeks? It's not about the weeks, it's terms about the numbers being used in the equation, right? So a student works $20 an hour to a teacher that gets paid 25. How do you think the teacher's gonna feel? It's gonna be like, so this student's making as much as me per hour? I have a whole degree. I got my education. I have experience. I went to teaching school and everything like that. They're just going to like babysit kids. And like, bro, like the difference, the gap is like what, $2-3? $5? What? wait. No. Someone help me explain that. And again, if that's not the best example, then take it to something where like, if upping the minimum wage means that the gap between a student, like someone that's in high school compared to someone who's like a full-fledged adult, where the gap in between, like, how much someone gets paid is small, is minimum, and it's not a huge gap, then that's a problem. And that's because you're increasing the minimum wage. So jobs that, already pay high, nothing will happen to them, while other jobs like, minimum wage jobs increase. So then the worker who's already making that money is gonna be thinking like, look, bro, I know y'all talk about equality and everything like that, but like, are you serious? Like, I work as an accountant. I do this and that. I do data management. I have to give projections for years and years while this person flips burgers at McDonald's. And we're almost making the same per hour? Okay. That makes sense, right? So, like, again, like, I don't think there should be this belief for equality, but equity. Someone could work minimum wage. That is fine. Because I do think there are structures that are in place for a reason. Because if you give everyone equal pay, no matter what the occupation, there's always going to be, inflation, hyperinflation, where like you'll have money, but like it's like the value won't be there. And number two, it also defines the skill set of the job itself, what you do. Again, compare someone who's like a research analysis for a high top four CEO, like top four company in Toronto, compared to someone who works at McDonald's. And it's like, why? Or even better, if you don't even want to say a CEO company, let's say someone who's like a community manager at a community organization in your area, compared to someone who like works at BK or McDonald's or Tim Hortons. And the gap between that is small, that like they almost make the same. It's gonna be thinking like, oh wow, like I don't even need to like, work at a top job. I can just go work at like Mickey D's or something like that. I can work at Tim's. And then what happens when, you see all that increased employment coming into play, you see all that to happen, at a point, they're gonna be like, whoa, like we can't take all these people. The whole point of having these structures is that it defines the different skill sets. Like, listen, if you're someone who hasn't had no work experience at all, right? And you need something to start. You may see people try to work at different jobs or different positions where they'll get you like into the field of like not just what they're doing, but how to do work on a consistent basis, right? See, I'm a research assistant, community research assistant. I didn't get that by just hopping on the first time with no clue. And obviously that plays in interviews. Like, I did not get the position because I had zero clue of how to do this. I had experience before, so because I had experience, that came into play, and that's where I was able to get the position. Again, skills, experience, that matters. But now it's like, if you up the minimum wage, those people who are already working there are gonna feel like, so like, now that you up it, you kind of made everything equal now. So it's like someone who has no clue what they're doing could work here. What does that do? And you know what? Even though sometimes I tell myself I don't even want to work in a fast food restaurant, I'll even say the same thing too. That thing's not easy. Are you kidding me? I don't think I could ever work in a fast food restaurant if I tried. So they're not going to hire someone who has no clue what they're doing or how to operate in these certain situations just because you want to chase money. And that basically leads to my like one of my, I would say like that's counter argument 1A, and then 1B. People will just do this because of the money. Will you really apply for a job because, oh, I can gain like skill sets and everything? Like, it's okay. We're selfish. We have self-interest. Most of y'all will go there because like, oh, we went from $15 to $20. Oh, yo, let me link. Yo, let me pull up to BK. Yo, listen, I got my resume right here. That's what's gonna happen. That's what's gonna happen. You know that's gonna happen. So I don't think they should focus on equality, but equity, and understand that there's certain levels to this. it's okay if some person getting paid $25 and another person getting paid 15. It's fine. As long as there's not any like disparities in between where someone is being shafted, like they're not getting paid every 2 weeks, or you're trying to remove their pay overall, or you're deducting like that's wrong. Like you gotta stick to like the contractual agreement that you have, or like the verbal agreement you have. Like, okay, like it's simple. Number two, and I kind of talked about this earlier on, so I'm not gonna go into full depth. A trap for employment and consumption. Again, you increase the minimum wage, people will apply. And again, like it's for the money. Like honestly, for me, and again, this is me, so I'm not one person, but I can give you from different perspectives. There's people who apply for jobs for money. There's people like myself that apply because what, I actually want to gain skill set and I still receive some some funds. But obviously, I want to have different skill sets that I can apply for other jobs. That way, it makes it easier for me to gain the position. But obviously, if I'm going to be doing this, there has to be an incentive. I get paid, rightful compensation. And then there's obviously, your volunteers, and maybe some people are just like, the money's cool, but if I'm able to kind of make change, whatever I'm working in or whatever field I'm doing in, then I have my purpose, which is fine. But also, like, if we're looking at those three, which one weighs more if you were to increase the minimum wage? I think we're gonna go with the former, the first one, right? Like imagine if like there's a cash prize, right? And there's a significant amount of people who are, trying to enter the contest. But you're telling yourself, you know what, maybe it's not worth it because it's just like what would this do for me? But then, you increase it more. You increase the prize money. And people are going to like catch interest, like, oh my god, like wow. Like I said, people are selfish. That's why also I don't even think we should do universal basic income. Like, could you just imagine giving people a fixed amount of money? Do you really think people are going to spend it well? Most likely not. Because you're going to get money, now you have to be clear about what can those purposes be used from. And like, how are you going to manage that money? How are you going to operate that money? Because again, like it's not like you're gonna have like someone by your side 24/7, 365 days a year doing like, money management or something like that. You can't. Someone could say, like, you know what? This money right here, we're gonna give you 5K and you have to spend it on amenities, food, clothing, supply. And someone might just do it just to buy maybe some new clothing. They might buy some new J's, some chains, a bag or something. Who said they have to follow the rules? We're in a whole pandemic because people at some point were not listening and weren't staying inside. You're gonna drop some money right in my face and tell me I have to spend it your way? Come on now. So the third counter argument is the impact on businesses. Now again, I know people can roast and say that, oh, these businesses are taking over. Well, yes, sometimes these businesses can be annoying, and well, it's something you can't do about it. But I think it's also important to realize that we need these businesses. Sometimes they serve all the different needs that we need in terms of like, products and goods. So, you have to make sure that these businesses are able to strive as well. So, like, what does that mean? What does that mean? Well, increasing the minimum wage again changes how they have to, prioritize their budget. Maybe it's like, well, now if we get increased employment and the minimum wage is increasing now, we have to find ways to, allocate our budget better. How are we going to like manage it in a way where, we're paying our people, But at the same time, we're able to do our own activities. Because again, the whole point of businesses is that they have to make profit. If they're not making profit, then, well, they can't work. They can't, complete their objectives. They can't do what they need to do. And eventually there will be a recession. They'll shut down. So that is something that needs to be taken into consideration. Like, imagine if employment increases and then people have to get paid. Then it's like you have no money for like assets. You have no money for spending certain things. You may have no money for sponsorships. So now you have to look to the government or maybe different, other organizations for funds. And that could be a problem. So how do you manage that? But let's not forget, like, businesses are basically like the representatives of the social economy. They're the ones that are basically dictating how supply and demand work. Even though that's kind of us, it's like, yeah, like one thing we've learned from civil society is that they have a saying, but it's not as strong compared to the executives that are actually in different corporations and businesses. But obviously, the role of the business, they're supposed to listen to the people, what they want, and they can't, supply the things that they need if they have no money for it. And all that's going to, to compensation, to paying your employees. And maybe it's to the point where like some businesses like can't take all these different employees in because it's like we have all these people, but like, are they doing the work? Because you may get to a point where you have an overload of workers and some people aren't even doing anything because like they have no task. They maybe have no responsibility. So that also pushes back, on different plans of how you want to take things. Maybe it's like, oh man, we were going so well on this project, but we have to hold it back because like we need to find roles for these people. Where I work, it's like we want to hire more people, but it's at the same time, it's like, what will they do? What possible responsibilities can we give them so that way, they feel included. And sometimes, again, it goes back to what I said earlier on. It's better if you probably just like just don't employ them or just don't increase the wage to give people a reason to employ. Like everything I said so far, they interconnect. This belief for equality in pay. So like everyone needs to be paid equally, and how people see that is like, oh, I have to employ. I have to like get a job. But then you ever think that businesses may not have everything set for you? The reason you get job positions is because that business or that said organization needs someone to fill those responsibilities. If they have someone that's doing those responsibilities and you still want to apply for a job, like what can they do? They're going to have to tell you like, sorry, like we have nothing for you. Not that we don't care, like it's not, we're selfish, but we literally have nothing for you. We have to make up something. Like, it's the truth. And the last counter argument, which I kind of wanted to go over at first, but I said to leave it last. Minimum wage really isn't the issue. It's not about increasing the pay. Because to be honest, like I said, don't get me wrong, there's at a point, mans were getting paid like what, $8 an hour? That was child labor right there. That was disgusting. Now, you may say $15 ain't better, but to be very honest, the economy works in so much different ways. It's always changing over time. Prices are always fluctuating. Stock, all that comes into play. And $15, and again, I might be part of the minority, it's not too bad for a minimum wage job. Are you kidding me? It's not too bad. The real issue is the accessibility of job positions that pay well. Because to me, people are always finding themselves in these minimum wage jobs. They're especially, racialized minorities. They're the ones that are always, having to work these lower paid jobs, having to, work part-time and not be like rightfully paid, handsomely. That was me at one point. But through establishing some connections and networking, I was able to not find one, but two jobs that pay very well for me right now. They really do. I'm able to do my stuff. I'm able to support my family. I'm able to support, my podcast in terms of like equipment and everything. And I'm doing very well. I'm doing very well. And that comes from the fact that, I was able to find a job like that. So it's not about increasing the pay because again, there's probably certain jobs that like they're meant to be paid like low. Because it's again like maybe it's not just the surface is like low skill, but it's like it could be temporary. Like I said, like summer jobs, it's 8 weeks. Imagine getting paid $20 an hour for 8 weeks. Full time. Like so like what's the I think summer camps used to like every single day. It was about like from 9 to 3. So that's 6 hours. $20 an hour. 120. You work Monday to Friday. That's $600. And then 2 weeks, 1,200. If we're taking away tax, that might be just over 1,000. Maybe like 1,050, like 1,050, somewhere around there. Imagine that for 8 weeks. It would be insane. It would be insane. Whether it's like, you don't need to pay that much. So again, I think really there has to be more ways or more strategies to open, jobs that pay well, high skill occupations for racialized people. And I say racialized people because let's be honest, it's a lot of like jobs and different organizations that consist of, I don't even want to talk about. If you get my drift, then you kind of get my drift. But if not, then someone else can tell you because I don't even want to get political with it. But I think it is a necessity. I think there needs to be different ways that, people who are part of these organizations or, have experienced the struggle of finding jobs that pay well, who now have it, they can give back to people who are just starting to find employment. There should be different avenues or different pathways to introduce these people so that way they can find jobs like that. Because to me, if you're able to do that, then there you go. Then it's like it's not an issue of minimum wage. The only issue would be if minimum wage is that these people were finding the jobs, and depending on the economy and how it's structured and how it's moving, and you still feel like people are making income, then it's like, okay, let's increase it. But there's not even people that can find these $20+ jobs to begin with. And obviously, if you go on like, whether it's Indeed or all these different job websites and everything, you do find it. But again, the skill set it's so high that it's like there's nothing you can do. And just because I said that does not mean you have to increase the pay of lower skills. Because again, you're going to have lower skill jobs pay as equal to higher skill jobs. No. What I'm trying to say is the minimum wage jobs are supposed to be stepping stones. All right? There was points, those summer jobs, they were stepping stones for me because from there, I was able to find connections. I worked as a camp counselor. And then eventually I worked as a mentor for research projects, collaborations with the TDSB in York. Now I'm working as a community manager for student support, and I'm working as a community research assistant for the Jane and Finch Community Research Partnership. And I'm getting paid very well, very well. And it comes from my experience of learning, having to adapt and connect with people and network. That's where you establish that great thing. You establish like, okay, like, you know what? It's not about having to find like a high job off the bat or even increasing the minimum wage. It's like you have to take it one step at a time. There's levels. And it should be easier for people who get that experience. And it's like, okay, now I know what I need to do. Have it easier for them to access these jobs and at least, gain the employment. Because I won't lie, even when I had experience, they had some of the most ridiculous criteria, like you need to be this major or you need like 3 to 5 years experience in this. It's like you can't be someone that's like, you've had like 1 or 2 year experience. Is 3 to 5 necessary? If there's one thing I know, no business is perfect. There will always be flaws. There will always be people that are learning something new. You could be working in something for 20 years, and then that one person who just joins the organization can tell you something you haven't heard in your half career span, like half a year. I've had it. I've literally been the person telling these people, they're like, you know what? In my 20 years, I never heard someone explain like that. I never heard someone offer a solution to a problem like that. And like, that's amazing. And the same thing for me. I might be working in some job that I know very well. Again, I mostly work in research. That's something I've done a lot recently. And then people tell me things, and I'm like, yo, I didn't even think about it like that, to be honest. So you have to take that into consideration. Sorry, guys, I have like a glass of water right here with me. Anyway, yeah, I don't think minimum wage is the problem. It's really helping, those youth, you know, establish like a ground where they understand that minimum wage is not a bad thing. Just it's used as a stepping stone to me personally. I think it could be used as a way to connect and networking people, and then also again providing assistance to those that want to obtain high skill occupation that has strong compensation. You're 20 plus, 25 plus. That's solid with little to like restrictions or barriers in terms of like criteria. Because I won't lie, jobs need to do better. Like, do you need like 3 or 5 years? Do you need me to learn how to work some software I've never heard before? Like, come on now. It's not needed. It's not necessary. So basically, yeah, my overall takeaway, there are different hierarchies in order or of order, sorry, in institutions, workplace, and environments for compensation. But we also need to realize that, equality is not the way to go, but equity. Not saying everything needs to be the same, but if you're going to have that price, make sure it's substantial, consistent, and it honors the code. It honors the role of like, okay, you will get paid this. And hopefully from this experience, we can help you. And that's another thing too. These jobs that have minimum wage, eventually when someone moves on, that place you're leaving should help you get to that next step. Like, you know what? We appreciate your services. Like, if you have to let someone go because you feel like, you know what, we feel like, your services aren't needed that much. Like, but we appreciate all you've done. And if you need some help, if you need a reference or anything, you need some services that you need to provide, we can hook you up. That needs to happen more. Because I don't like how like you let someone go and they leave with absolutely nothing. Like, that's the worst feeling when you apply for a job and you may stay there for years, and then when someone says like, what did you leave with? They can't even think about anything. They're like, honestly, I don't know. Like, that's terrible. That is terrible. So, jobs need to do that more. Give more opportunities to different individuals. Because maybe some people that's like, you know what? I'm content with working in a fast food restaurant. I get to serve people, I'm just doing my thing, and that's cool. Maybe there's some people that's just like, this is just for me to get to like some money. Maybe it's something I don't want to do. And you can help that person get to that, that destination they want to go with and still get paid right. Well, like, why does it always feel like when you obtain someone, you need to keep them into competition? Again, we're selfish. I should have named this episode like, we're just selfish. Like, we're selfish people. We're all about self-interest. But that's pretty much my take. Overall, I wouldn't do it. It's not needed. And again, like, there's tax, and I think the worst feeling you can have is that you think you're making this much, but then once you get that check or you get your T4 slip at the end and you realize how much tax was taken away, and you're just like, I can't do this anymore. That's another reason why people feel like they need to be working like multiple jobs or making like $50 an hour. But like, again, tax is tax. It's going to take away anyway. It's going to still deduct. It's all about, financial literacy and managing your money. That's something I'm trying to do. I'm trying to learn right now. I mean, recently I haven't spent a lot because, again, like, it's Christmas and it's family stuff, and we're like trying to change around the house and everything. But I'm trying to manage my stuff. Like, when I get my checks, I don't spend on nothing stupid. I don't spend it on clothes or anything. Like, I rarely go clothes shopping. And if I do, it's for something like, important. I'm not gonna spend it because like, oh, it looks fresh. It's like I want to use it for like if I'm going out to like social functions or anything, just like something simple. So yeah, that's my take. I personally think they shouldn't do it. There's no need. Focus on, using minimum wage jobs as a stepping stone and helping, youth with accessibility to, better jobs. Okay, but that's about it, guys. I'm gonna head out. Thank you guys for listening to this conversation. I hope you guys found something to take away from this. Again, I try to have these talks just to talk a little bit more about what's happening in society, what's happening within the economy and everything like that. Try to mix it up. And hey, like this was good for me because like again, I don't do solo episodes as I used to do before. If you guys listen to like the old episodes, like go back from season one, it was mostly me. It was mostly me because I wasn't really like I didn't have that much of a big audience. So when I did it, it's like, okay, it's cool. Now I feel like every week I'm getting a new guest, and it's like it's still dope. But it's also better than like I get to just sit in front of here and just kind of talk with you guys. You know, you get to hear me. And you can't see me, but get to listen to my voice. Hopefully in the future, you guys get to see me in person. I might do something maybe like an in-person live. That would be dope. But that's about it. Thank you guys for listening to the Safe Room. Make sure you guys check me out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Again, go check out my website, thesaferoompodcast.com. Follow me on Instagram at the Safe Room Podcast. Go check out my song. Please, guys, like, and don't check it out. Share it. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. The dopest thing was that Kevin and I had our live stream for our Court Advantage podcast. It's the other podcast I'm a part of. It's on my YouTube channel. If you guys want to go check it out, you can click the link in my Instagram bio. We went 4 hours long this time. Last year we went 3. This year we went 4. So if you want to talk sports and everything, go check it out. We had a good amount of guests as well. Trust me, you will laugh. You will enjoy yourself. Just something for the holidays. But there was a segment we had. We talked about music, and shout out to Lottie. Shout out to him. We were ready to move on to the final segment of the live stream where he actually dropped the fact that like, yo guys, like, can we talk about the fact, like, since we're on music, can we talk about the fact that this man Sean's got like his own song and like it's fire and everything? So listen, man, guys, like, see, like even like the guests I'm bringing. I mean, I know Lottie from a while back, but still, like even he's promoting it. So if he's telling you to go check out the song, then if you're listening, go check it out. It's called First Lady. I'll leave it in the description. Listen, man, it's different. It's not like your typical song it's a different track. It's the official soundtrack of the podcast. Go check it out. I'ma head out. I got some things to do. But thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.